call to order the special meeting of the Village Westmont Planning and Zoning Commission on 23 July 2025. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Donahue?
Here.
Commissioner Simpson's here. Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Commissioner Peterson? Commissioner Sharp?
Here.
Commissioner Lynn? Commissioner Carmichael, or Chairman Carmichael?
Here. Okay, we have a quorum. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And while everyone is standing, anyone who intends to testify has to be sworn in, including staff. Please raise your right hand and say that any and all testimony you give will be the whole and complete truth.
I do.
Thank you. Reminder to silence your cell phones. And another reminder that anyone who testifies has also to sign in either out in the hallway or at the podium with their name and contact information. Next item is the approval of minutes from the July 9th, 2025 regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion. Donahue.
Motion Donahue,
Second.
second Thomas. And discussion of those minutes? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Simpson votes yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharp?
Abstain.
Commissioner Donahue?
Yes.
Chairperson Carmichael?
Yes. Okay, this is a continuation of old business, public hearing PZC 001-2025, request from the Village of Westmont regarding zoning ordinance text amendments as follows. Zoning ordinance text amendments to repeal Appendix A zoning of the Westmont Code of Ordinances and to establish a new Chapter 95 zoning of the Westmont Code of Ordinances with comprehensive updates to the entire zoning ordinance, including amendments to the zoning districts, development standards, planning processes, and other zoning regulations. So, in this case, the testimony would be given by village staff itself, so we'll begin with that.
Thank you, Chair. For the public that's here, my name's Scott Williams. I'm the senior planner with the village. I put together just a PowerPoint that has the revised language, and most of it has the big takeaways from the revised language, so it's not the minute details. Everybody sure got the attachments and staff report that were available to the public prior to this meeting. So today marks the 5th public hearing for the zoning ordinance update. We held 4 public hearings prior, one on April 23rd, one on May 7th, and one on June 11th, and one on June 25th. That's about close to 14 hours of public hearings so far related to this and these comprehensive updates and amendments. So far, staff and the consultant presented the original language, and then we took about 3 meetings to get through commissioner comment and public comment. And now we took those comments and we're proposing revised language based on those comments. So we worked with the consultant and internally with our own staff related to the comments themselves. So we took in every comment we received from the public during the forum, written comment, and then commissioner comments to us. We went through those at the staff level and with the consultant. And we determined based on basically either the best practices that we've talked with our consultant with, or feasibility of the proposed language and the specific needs of the village. We're proposing this revised language. It's not all-encompassing of all comments received. So if your comment from the commission wasn't integrated into the revised language, there's probably a reason for that, either due to the feasibility or the needs of the village. or if it was that information was already provided elsewhere in the code. So we did contemplate all comments we received from the public and the commission. In those reports that you have, the staff report gives a breakdown, and I'm going to go through each article here, gives a breakdown of the changes that were revised. Additionally, the draft language you received has the text in highlighted color in yellow and underlined with crossouts as well in the text. So I encourage you to follow along with me as I go through the articles while I'm presenting it. I'll be going basically article by article. Some sections are called out, but some have much larger changes either in a table or something like that. With that, I'll just begin with Article 1. So Article 1 is our introductory provisions. In the proposed revisions, we clarified the effective dates. We rephrased exemptions for public utilities. We provided some clarity regarding conflicting provisions with state, federal, and village municipal codes, and expanded transitional provisions for building permits and zoning applications. And I'll say for the commission, we will go to public comment after this, and then after we'll have comment from the commission. We'll go article by article.
Yeah, thank you.
In Article 2, this is Section 2.05 specific, we revised the footnote, I believe it's footnote 5, related to lot and building regulations. We reduced the minimum street setback to 15 feet for a buildable width of 40 feet for detached houses on corner lots as discussed here. And then we had some revised language at the staff level based on prior discussion. In Article 3, this is the business and employment districts. So in Section 3.04, lot and building regulations, we're proposing return to a 10-foot front yard setback in the B2 and C1 districts, provided that the required foundational landscaping is being met. This, if you recall, we made this change due to the supplemental setbacks. We originally had the language at 20 feet for those buildings, but we reduced it 10 feet based on discussion and then feasibility from a practical aspect from the buildings we already see. Staff was comfortable making the change because of the additional landscape regulation, because we didn't want to lose any landscape features on the front of those buildings. Moving to Article 4, where we've had a bit more changes. So Article 4 is the downtown zoning districts. We made a few changes here. So in Section 4.04, which is the building types, we clarified that the zoning administrator can determine the applicable building type classification. So that's your general, general versus row building versus the I forget storefront building. Sorry.
And would you explain who the zoning
Zoning administrator
is?
So the zoning administrator is technically the community development director, who can bestow upon whomever that title, but technically it is the community development director.
Okay, thank you.
Which will be a change in the municipal code, not in this code. Although I think it is called out at the end of this zoning ordinance. In Section 4.04 again, we revised the table. It's 4-2 for allowed building types. So row building types were removed as an allowable use in the downtown edge district. That's the B1 district. And that was based on commissioner comments. Section 4.08. This is the storefront building table. And in number 8, based on commissioner comments, we changed the building height for the upper story building height maximum from 11 feet to 15 feet, just due to real world applicability. Section 4.08, again, we changed storefront buildings in the table. It's number 17 in the table. The vertical division with shadow lines. We had the design criteria for vertical division shadow lines was reduced to 30 feet to 60 feet. So we didn't, I believe the Commissioner comment was specific to 30 feet. We felt that we wanted to provide some flexibility for design. So we decided to go with 30 feet to 60 feet. In section 4.122C, these are the side and rear facades. We added some language specifying that the side and rear facing facades may use minor facade materials, as based on Commissioner comment on how you would look at a building, we didn't feel it was pertinent to have them use major facade materials in those locations. Again, in section 4.12, this is table 4.4, we updated the allowable minor facade materials to a more industry standard term from glass curtain wall to glass systems per Commissioner direction. In section 4.12E1D, visibility through glass was revised to transmission factor, or from transmission factor to visible light transmittance, and that was again per Commissioner comments and real world aspects. Moving on to Article 5. So in Article 5, this is our special purpose zoning chapter. This is what houses the planned unit developments, our public institutional districts, and so on. So in section 5.02C, lot and building regulations, and in table 5.2 for the PI district, we made revisions at the staff level to have them proposed to make the public institutional districts more tailored to governmental uses, like village and park district, the village and park districts. And then additionally, in section 5.02C, the lot width and area were removed just due to practicality of those institutional uses. We see varied lot sizes, so we moved that as a requirement. For the PUDs in section 5.04 A through B, we updated the scope and objectives for planned unit developments, and we broadened it a bit at the staff level after taking another look at it. So this wasn't derived from any particular discussion. We now for PUDs are considering economic hurdles, including infrastructure enhancements, remediation projects, or challenging market dynamics as a purpose and reasoning behind proposing a planned unit development. And then moving on into principal uses, we made a few. If you go to the table, you can see those changes in your binders. So we recategorize some of the allowable uses in the table. So consumer services, eating and drinking places, entertainment, office and retail sales permissions in the B1 and B1A and B1 districts. We chose to make them permitted uses after reevaluating our special use standards and permits. So those would be permitted uses in the downtown districts, those two downtown districts. Currently, they're either special uses or they're reviewed under what is currently enacted as the B1 permit, which is being removed. And then we also reinserted colleges and universities as an allowable use in certain districts that was omitted from the last draft that was meant to be included. Moving on to accessory and temporary structures. This article deals with, as you know, sheds, accessory buildings, but it also includes a lot of accessory uses. So this is where we had most of the changes within our revised code. So the first change that we had was in section 7.02, and it relates to the small building exemptions, and this is derived from commissioner comment. We amended the section to remove the building limit and allow for an aggregated 50 square foot to be exempted. In section 7.04, within the table, we allowed setback encroachments and obstructions. The table where we allow setbacks and encroachments. We're proposing amendments to the bay windows and raised landings to match the existing permissions, and remove some existing easement language regarding window wells. In the planning area, we don't prefer to have easement language written into the zoning ordinance, as it's usually looked at through our engineering staff for when those are required, and they make that determination. In section 7.05, accessory dwelling units, we just clarified some of the proposed street setbacks and heights for detached ADUs. We know this was, ADUs in particular were a great discussion when they came up. It did seem like it was not based on the language itself. It seemed like it was more based on just ADUs in general, either as detached or attached. So we didn't feel that any revised language was going to change that discussion. That will have to either be a determination the commission makes or village board makes when it gets to them on if those will be allowed or not, in what aspect. In section 7.09, donation drop-off bins, we made edits as discussed during the last meeting, or the last public hearing for this. We proposed a maximum number, a revised maximum number and area, and how drop boxes are allowed, and additional regulations for off-site organizations. So we wanted to exempt the libraries that have the drop-off bins for the books and other institutions that might have temporary, or not temporary, but bins for donation for that specific principal use on the property. So like a Goodwill could be one of those as well. Section 7.11B, fences. So we changed the maximum encroachment into front yards from what was proposed last time. We included additional regulations for reverse corner lot fences. And that was derived from, I believe, commissioner comments. In section 7.12, fireplaces, grills, kitchens, and fire pits. We amended these regulations that specified items like manufacturer recommendations and building code regulations, so we omitted those. And we try to clarify the type of structures, permanent type of structures. In section 7.14, business vehicles. This had great discussion as well. So we had formerly called this fleet vehicle storage. We changed that. We reworked a lot of the regulations for this section, and I'm happy to go through it if commissioners have comments on it. But we did see that it was causing confusion not just for the commission, but also for the public and the public comment period about what exactly the differences were. In section 7.2 or 7.20, C, outdoor accessory uses, outdoor seating, and dining areas. We proposed clarifying some of the language and rules applicable to outdoor eating areas on private property specifically. We removed some of the requirements for what the required design features might have to be. So like fencing, we now allow for the barriers and plantings of some kind. And that was based on comment received from the public. In section 7.21, recreational vehicles and equipment, this section was basically revamped entirely. We looked at other municipalities and how they regulate, and we seemed a bit off in our regulations. So we're trying to provide a bit more clarity on what's a recreational vehicle versus recreational equipment, and provide some allowances for residential properties. In 7.23, swimming pools and hot tubs, we removed some of the barrier requirements, as that's more geared toward the building codes, as we discussed. And we're trying to not have duplicate language because the building code would trump our code, so it shouldn't be included. Moving on, wireless and telecommunication facilities. We did not propose any revision to this section. There's very little comment. Parking. So we had some significant changes here. A lot of it's reworking of some of the tables, but we did also have some language changes. So we made revisions to minimum motor vehicle parking requirements. That's in the table, table 1 in that chapter. Significant revisions are proposed to the table. It consolidates a lot of the subcategories that were repetitive into a single line. We also changed some of these subcategories and updated some of the employee versus occupancy-based requirements, as the commissioners discussed, just for practical use of the code. In section 9.03C, area measurements, we clarified that many of the areas of a building not dedicated to the principal use of the building would be exempt from the parking requirements, parking requirement calculation. That was also derived from our discussion on parking from the commissioner level. In 9.04, related to multi-tenant centers, we clarified the regulation for what the required parking would be for new and expanded multi-tenant centers. And that rate would be 2.5 spaces per 1,000 square feet, regardless of the use that takes place. And at 9.05 B1, off-site parking, where allowed or when allowed, we're allowing for off-site parking for uses in the downtown districts, regardless of for residential use in the downtown district. And then in 9.07, that relates to tandem parking. So we allowed for tandem parking in the downtown districts to only serve residents and employees of the same business. So we broadened it a bit, but we were only comfortable keeping that within the downtown. In the table 3, this is the drive-through stacking spaces and requirements. We increased the minimum stacking requirements for automated car washes and drugstores. The car washes were from the previous code, our current code was carried over, and then we made some adjustments based on commissioner comments. Moving on to the next article, tree preservation and landscaping. The changes we made here were just to match some of the changes from the text when it was adopted at the staff level. We didn't have a lot of comments on this from the commissioner or the public for landscaping. We just clarified some language. Regarding signs, we resolved some typos that were in the code as noted by the commissioners. We clarified the purpose of prohibited signs and how sign measurements are taken. So we updated just minor tweaks to sign measurements and the infographic. And then for prohibited signs, we just clarified the language. In general development regulations, this article addresses outdoor lighting, among other items, but most of the major changes were related to outdoor lighting. So we provided some more applicability changes to clarify when the outdoor lighting regulations are applied when we see a new construction, or for when cases when there's existing fixtures, and how the zoning administrator has some ability to work within the context of what they're trying to do and not try to pigeonhole them into coming up to the exact new standards for everything that applies to the property for lighting. So we're trying to get closer to what would be the model code in our eyes for outdoor lighting, but we're not, that's the incremental improvements. We're not trying to get them to be perfect if they're coming in for minor changes to their outdoor lighting. We provide some exemptions in 12.01C for properties that already have an approved site plan. So we have a lot of properties that have an approved site plan on file with us. We did not feel it was warranted to have them make the changes when we approved their site plan years ago. We updated the prohibited lighting. We added some language for unauthorized architectural elements and lighting of them that did not receive approval through either a site plan or some other ways. In 12.01 light trespassing, we put an exemption for properties in the B1A and B1. This is a new item that wasn't discussed specifically in this commission. Staff's proposing it now, though. We feel that because of the reduced setbacks, none of the buildings in the downtown, the B1A or B1, could likely meet the light trespassing, specific to light trespassing requirement. We'd still require them to be downcasted lighting and non-nuisance lighting.
Okay.
In 12.05, this relates to site visibility triangles, so not the lighting anymore. We placed an exemption for site visibility triangles to allow for open design fences within those triangles. In the nonconformity article, we made one change in 13.04C, nonconforming structures. We added that residential dwelling units with a nonconforming street setback may expand vertically if it matches the original building footprint. This is in addition to the existing permissions for the front street setback that are already within the code as proposed.
What about 1302, non-conforming lots, part 5?
Do that one more time.
I'm showing a change here that you added or changed under 1302, non-conforming lots.
Oh, I think that was an added exemption for, I believe it's lots of record, for when a lot has a vacant lot next door. I don't have the code right in front of me, sorry.
Yeah, it's
So I'm
any
assuming
vacant
it's
lot abutting another lot under common ownership.
Yes, that's an exemption in our current code that was omitted as it was transferred over, and it's being shown there now in
Okay.
that section.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, and I would like to clarify that this staff report and the presentation, they're not exhaustive accounts of all the changes. There are some minor changes and deletions that can be discussed when we get to the article by article discussion among the commissioners.
All right, thank you.
In the review and approval procedures, we didn't make any revisions. I know we had some comments about adding a table from some of the commissioners. We wanted some flexibility at the staff level, specific to pre-application meetings, so we didn't make that specific change, which was largely what was discussed at the commission level. And then administration enforcement, we did not make any revisions to this article. We had little discussion on it. In the measurements article, we made some revisions in 16.07C. This is the contextual setbacks. These revisions limited the maximum reduction of the street setback to 10 feet, less than what the district requires. And then we clarified the minimum required setback used for calculations when adjacent properties have a greater setback, and that the attached accessory structures may not be included while calculating that contextual setback. In 16.08, this is lot coverage. We updated this section and made some edits regarding the small building exemption. Small accessory building. Regarding some of the we're moving on to the article for definitions. It ties back to a lot of the changes we made elsewhere in the code that I did not talk about specifically because it's in the definitions section. So we provided new definitions and deleted some definitions. So we provided a new definition for lighting intensity, high intensity lighting versus low intensity lighting. Recreational vehicles and equipment both have definitions now, and business vehicles were added, and those were all to match the regulations elsewhere in the proposed code. With that, we made some deletion as well that are outlined in your draft because it was based on the previous iteration of the code. And then lastly, in Appendix A, we did not make any revisions. We did not receive any comments regarding revisions on this. With tonight's meeting, so those were all the revisions. We have the public here as well that will likely give comments after I'm done speaking. And then we'll go into commissioner comments. I'm happy to go through article by article. If you need me to summarize anything or you need specific questions answered, I'll be here. We have staff here available that can help answer them. For tonight's meeting, we have varied options on how we can come to a conclusion of either a recommendation vote or a continuation of a meeting. We have staff here if we're looking to make amended motions. We have our attorney here if we're looking to make amended motions. So please utilize us if you're trying to make an amended motion on a specific section, either pulling it out completely and have a separate vote on a specific section, or if you're trying to put conditions on the recommendation of approval for revisions going forward. And then I'm open to any questions from the commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move to the public. Who would like to come and address the commission on, sir? Good evening.
Dwayne Newton, 10 West Travel. I can have a long story, or I'll try to shorten it up, but I've been a kind of a long time associated property owner to this property over there at 10 West Traube. And through my career, I moved away and now I'm back, and in that duration, the property was changed to OR1, or I don't know, one or the other. And as discussed, and a question of this table V1-1 allowable uses, were there was talk about added uses to those districts. Can that be, put up on the board somewhere? What uses were added to that district? But it doesn't pertain to me really anymore. It did at the time, because the property back in the 1940s, or whenever they started zoning in Westmont, was zoned R4. And then when Progress, they put in the police department and all.
You're just west of the police station, is that correct?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. They changed it to this OR1, and they seemed to draw that line, and they kept me, out of R3 or R4. So I had a petition the board, and I did get approved to now be R3. So now I'm non-conforming R3, but when I was in OR1, I was very limited to what I could do, nothing, basically maintenance. Now I'm able to do some things, and that brings me to the non-conforming section that was just brought up here. you just discuss about vertically. You know, I was under the impression that if we can go back, that would be, or side, you know, because I'm non-conforming because of front. But if, you know, because of the setbacks and lot coverage and all that, I'm looking to expand and put up a garage or do something, you know, and so I don't know if this ordinance is gonna limit me from that, or, so that's a talking point. And then I guess, you know, recreational vehicle has a meaning to me in another municipality, and it's referenced that it was a complete rewrite. I don't even know what it was and then what the rewrite is to comment on it, so I'll leave that for another time. Yeah, I guess I could touch on preservation. You know, they're doing some upgrading infrastructure over there on that road, Trowbridge and Grant in that area. And they took out a couple of trees that we put in. They were in the parkway.
Yeah.
But, you know, because of the new curbing and street and sidewalk, they took those trees out. You know, again, we paid went the express route to add dollars to take down trees and put up 2 new ones. And in my view, it was for, in memory of my grandmother that bought that house, and now they're gone, you know. They didn't have no problem just going, boom, boom. But I've talked to Public Works, and they're gonna replace one, at least, because they're putting in a big catch basin over there, and, you know, I've had some long, I don't wanna call them battles, but when they put in the police department and all that, we're the low spot. You know, they pump there. I've got water issues, and I'm being told that this infrastructure project is going to alleviate a lot. You know, so I hope so. You know what I mean? So that's what I got.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Newton.
Do you want me to try to address some of the non-conforming
Please.
questions?
Please.
So under the regulations, you're in the R3 district.
Correct.
If you have a non-conforming structure, you can expand a non-conforming as to its front yard setback. You can expand to the rear or to the side as long as you don't increase the nonconformity in the front yard setback. So you can't build sideways within your encroachment into the front yard setback, making the house wider.
In the presentation, it said vertically, you know.
You can increase it vertically within, yeah, so you can go straight up.
What the presentation was all about was like vertically. I mean, I would think that you should be able to do back and side. I mean, there should be some language.
You can go, there's language about going back,
Okay.
and there's language about going to the side, but if you're encroaching into the front yard setback, any increase in width would have to start behind the front yard setback. You couldn't increase the width within your encroachment.
I'll buy it.
The other provision is that it says any expansion of a legal non-conforming structure has to be for a use permitted within the zoning district. So let's say you also have a non-conforming use. Let's say this is used as a multifamily property in the R3 district.
Can I go back up here?
Yep.
And add to my thing, because you just brought up the point, ADUs. You know, in your discussion, I got, please discuss further. When Scott was presenting it, it seemed like, you know, during these previous hearings, that there was interest in it. So I would like the board to continue discussion on ADUs, you know, or those structures.
Okay. Thank you.
Just to finalize, if a property is used as a multifamily property in the R3 district, multifamily uses are not allowed in the R3. So you cannot expand a structure to further accommodate a multifamily use. only single-family detached residential dwellings are allowed in the R3 district as far as residential uses. So I just wanted to clarify that as well.
Excellent, thank you. Who's next from the public?
Good evening. My name is Steve Mihalik. I live at 132 West 60th Street. I have the privilege of living there since 2004, my wife Jenny and I. I'm also an architect, and I also have had the privilege of working for a commercial architect with recreational and aquatic experience. Most recently, we've had the privilege of working with your park district at Park Place, which I was the project architect. And I want to commend Scott and your board on a very comprehensive study. I've only shown up here at meeting 5 of 5, so I've missed meetings 1 through 4. But I feel with your good summary, I've been caught up very well. And I just wanted to make one clarification just for your consideration on Article 7 with regards to swimming pools. And if I'm going by memory of what was up on the screen that Scott had up, it was in reference to building permits. And I just wanted to clarify, as a recreational and aquatic architect, most commercial pools, this is not residential, but most commercial, which it would mean private or public, i.e. a park district, or, for example, your indoor pool over at Ty Warner Park, those types of swimming pool projects really are governing authorities. By governing authorities, they kind of come from the state of Illinois Department of Public Health. So top down, their Illinois Department of Public Health section is called the Swimming Pool and Bathing Beach section. And I'm just trying to clarify, so kind of an ease of streamlining of permits through maybe not necessarily this body or even zoning, but for building permits, typically an architect or an engineer has to get a certification at the state of Illinois level. So to say building permit, really some projects really will be governed by the state of Illinois, not your village building code. So if I say that, I want to clarify that, because if there is an architect or engineer who is coming to submit a project for the first time, you would be doing them a service by letting them know there is a certification process and a state of Illinois approval that is concurrent or independent of your building permit process. So,
And that's with residential as well as?
or not residential, just
It's
for
non-residential.
commercial, whether it be private or public. So you'd be doing a design and engineering profession a service by making that requirement known up front, so they don't get too far in the project and not understand that there is a state of Illinois requirement as well. It would make your, in my humble opinion, it would make your permitting process a little more streamlined, and you would be doing the design and construction team a service by having that documented up front in your documents as well. So those are my suggestions for you. Other than kudos to you guys, great job on the updates and the summary. So thank you very much.
And thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to address the commission? Hi.
Hi, my name is Krista Stanulis. I'm a Westmont resident and also a member of the Westmont Environmental Improvement Committee. I just wanted to talk tonight about Article 12, Section 12.01, outdoor lighting. I don't have any comments specific to the ordinance text itself, but I just wanted to provide some clarification as to why we're encouraging the adoption of responsible outdoor lighting regulations and dispel some misconceptions. So the why, basically the ultimate goal of responsible outdoor lighting is not to see the Milky Way from Westmont. It would be nice, but that's never going to happen. You'd need a completely dark sky to be able to do so. It would be great obviously for the next generation to see that there's more than 30 stars in the sky, as firsthand experience always provides better understanding of the historical and scientific significance of our stars. But there are energy wasted issues with producing energy that's casted upward and outward as opposed to where it needs to be. There's a cost associated with this. The glare of inappropriate lighting causes safety issues. However, the most pressing effects for the environment of irresponsible outdoor lighting have to do with the health of wildlife and humans. So outdoor lighting has a negative effect on the health of humans and wildlife. We hear a lot about, there's stories in the news, you've probably heard about all kinds of different animals, birds who are thrown off course in their migratory patterns, as well as butterflies, birds that fly into buildings, turtles that don't make it out to sea, that are washed up on shore. So there's a lot of different impacts on different animals. In our local area, one of the greater impacts would be on pollinators and insects that we rely on to pollinate the food that we eat. There's a big human effect that's well documented by the American Medical Association for inappropriate outdoor lighting. So that includes the suppression of melatonin, which affects our circadian rhythm, which controls all of our systems in our body. So that impacts our sleep. It's been tied to many health issues. One of the bigger ones is a higher risk of hormonally linked cancers, such as breast and prostate cancers. So to combat this, the American Medical Association has actually issued a recommendation that we shield light sources from direct eye contact and especially avoid outdoor nighttime blue light emissions. So I just wanted to give a background on other impacts of outdoor lighting. So I wasn't available to attend the last zoning meeting where outdoor lighting portion of the proposed ordinance was discussed. I did watch the recording and just wanted to offer a little bit of clarification on a few items that were brought up. There was some discussion whether regulating outdoor lighting is overly restrictive and somehow out of step with the surrounding area. There were statements made in the last meeting that there are only 2 dark sky communities in the Chicagoland area, and they're predominantly areas with large forest preserves, and that it's otherwise uncommon to regulate this. And there were some questions about whether we should do this in smaller steps. So just to clarify a few of those points. There's a difference between becoming a dark sky certified community and including regulations for responsible outdoor lighting, which is more of a step in the right direction when we're talking about steps toward that. The Dark Sky Community certification is granted by Dark Sky International. It used to be known as the International Dark Sky Association. It's a US-based not-for-profit organization that's dedicated to preserving the night sky for many reasons, which I just mentioned. The 2 communities that were referenced, I believe, were Homer Glen and Hawthorne Woods, and these are Dark Sky certified communities, and they are less populated or less dense than Westmont is. But to achieve the designation that they've achieved, they had to comply with regulations for quite a bit more criteria than we're currently seeking. So just to go over that, full shielding of all, to become a certified community, you'd have to have fully shielded of all light fixtures over 1,000 initial lamp lumens. Right now, we're proposing 1,500 lumens. A limit on the emissions of shortwave or blue light. This is included in the proposed ordinance. We've set a limit of 3,000 Kelvin. Overall site illumination levels have to be regulated. That's something we're not currently proposing. I don't know any other municipalities except for these 2 that would be proposing that right now. So while that exceeds our proposed Westmont ordinance, we do set up site boundary regulations to address light trespass on neighboring properties. Additionally, new installations of publicly owned lighting, including a way to set controls or curfews on that lighting, would be required as part of that. Also something we're excluding, and restrictions on illuminated signage, which is excluded from this portion of the ordinance. I'm not sure what's included in the signage portion. But so I just want to give an overview of kind of where we are and what it means to be dark sky, and that's not necessarily, we're not saying that this is dark sky and we're, that this is overly progressive. This is a step in the right direction. It's actually very much where the industry and where other communities are headed with this. So we're not looking to apply for dark sky certification right now. It's just seen as a step in the right direction while implementing the principles of the Dark Sky International and also the recommendations of the American Medical Association. We're not the only community pursuing an ordinance for responsible outdoor lighting in this way. I've not done an extensive search, but Downers Grove, Clarendon Hills, Lisle, Naperville, and Wheaton all have zoning regulations for outdoor lighting currently. Some restrictions go beyond what is proposed by Westmont's ordinance currently by regulating light levels at all residential property lines, so including residence to residence, single family to single family. And they've set this at 0.1 foot candles, and they've also restricted motion activated lighting so that it's not visible at the property line and may not be activated by movement at the property line. So I just want to point out that in these communities that are currently doing this, outdoor lighting ordinances do not seem to be impeding development. There were some concerns in the last meeting about how this will be implemented. I think with any ordinance or code change, there will be a learning curve and education that needs to happen. However, having an ordinance in place encourages the proposed businesses and multifamily residential to think responsibly about their lighting before the construction begins, and hopefully this is an opportunity to catch potential nuisance lighting before it's installed. It's much more expensive for owners to retrofit a problematic situation after it's been installed. The impact on car dealerships was discussed in the last meeting. I just wanted to note that many car dealerships have already moved to LED lighting as an energy savings because they do have a lot of lighting and it's a major cost savings for them. Many of these have already directed their lighting downward, so the changes in approach for them with this ordinance would be selecting the correct color temperature, where most pole type lights are available in multiple color temperature options to begin with, and adjusting spacing when it comes to new construction and they're doing a layout of new pole locations. It's something that they would take into account for that to meet the property line light requirement. In any site development of this size, like whether it be a car dealership or something like that, it's pretty typical to have an electrical engineer drawing up lighting plans for outdoor lighting, including a photometric study to ensure that the area is adequately lit. Engineers typically compare the calculated light levels on a photometric study to guidelines established by the Illuminating Engineering Society. Light manufacturers use, I believe their IES files is what they call them. They produce these files that engineers can use in their plans, and it shows the intensity and spread of the various fixtures so that they can see, even pole locations with different fixtures are going to be, spacing is going to need to be different based on the spread of each fixture. So it's something that's pretty typical in the industry already on projects this size. So just noting that it's not asking for anything that's too far above and beyond what's already been done in the industry. There are some concerns about safety at things like gas stations, bank ATM machines. So I just wanted to note again that the proposed ordinance doesn't regulate overall light levels on any given property, just at the property line. So there's nothing saying that they couldn't have bright lights right above an ATM or wherever it's needed for safety. Right now, it's just regulating what's happening at the property line and how it affects the neighbors. So as exposed bulbs produce more glare, what it would do, in that we're requiring the light to be pointed downward, it would reduce glare and provide better safety potentially. So thank you again for taking up this initiative. I think it's a great step for a more environmentally responsible Westmont. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to address the commission? Seeing none, we'll go to the commissioners. I propose, gentlemen, that we start with Article 1 and go through and see where this takes us. Okay, Article 1, introductory provisions. Scott, you discussed 4 different things here.
Yes.
Can you put these?
Do you want, we can do the summary slide?
You can put
or
the
we can
summary
put up
slides.
the code.
Just the summary slides.
Summary
I think.
slide, yeah, I can do that.
And
Sorry, Brian already put it up. There we go. Thank you, Brian.
you're not limited to these, of course, but does anyone have anything they'd like to discuss or ask on Article 1? Okay. Article 2, residential districts. Revisions there.
Brian, if you could switch over to the Dias computer, I can toggle along that way. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got something,
Certainly.
I got something for residential districts on page 11.2. This is something that is not highlighted in red, so apparently it existed before and I just never noticed it. So I just want to ask a question on minimum building setbacks. Under each type of structure, there is interior side as a percentage of combined width, and then there's an interior side in feet. Can I ask what's the intent of these two different?
It is from the current code. In the current and existing code, I think it's called as an aggregate number. It's basically to provide at least both sides of a property from a building to be, usually it's 6 feet. It usually matches whatever that actual setback is based on the foot setback. But every once in a while, there's some discrepancies. So they wanted to maintain that the building's located more towards the middle of the property than on the edge. And my understanding, and I am spitballing at this point, my understanding is it's to allow for additions or accessory structures that are attached to the building in the future.
Okay, so does it mean both requirements apply?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I'll tell you, I've rarely run into the issue in permitting where the aggregate's ever been an issue.
Okay.
It usually gives the home builder some flexibility with it. So if your lot's over the minimum, so if it's an 80-foot wide lot, 20% of an aggregate would mean you need to have 16 feet of side yard setbacks together, but you can have 5 feet on one side, but that means you would then have to have 11 feet on the other. So that way, if you wanted to have it off the side, you could, but then together the setbacks have to equal that 20% number.
Okay.
It is somewhat unique to Westmont, though. We don't normally see it in a lot of municipalities.
Okay. That's the only thing I had for this article, was a question.
Good. Anyone else? Article 3, business and employment districts. Article 4, downtown zoning districts. Nothing, John? You look-
No.
Okay. Article 6, principal uses. Table.
Article 5. Special permit.
from Article.
Oh, good catch, I'm sorry. I apologize, gentlemen.
Did you want to go back to 4?
Let's go back to Article 5, special purpose zoning.
Sorry, I'm slow here. Can we go back to 4?
Certainly. Section 4, downtown zoning districts.
Something that confused me on the diagrams, the section diagrams that are on, like, for example, 4-6 or 4-9, is that the keynote 7 is called upper story height, but it's shown as the first story in some of these diagrams. I might just be nice to have that updated as a separate keynote for ground story or first story.
Yeah, seems,
That's it.
Oh, you're saying sorry. I had to look at the diagram. For 8.
upper stories.
Yeah, but put the page 1.
Yeah.
No, to the other, put it to, like that section there, 7, keynote 7 on the first floor.
Here?
On section 4.5, it says ground story for number 7, but
Yes.
then the later one changes it to upper on 7. Are you combining those two diagrams? Because they're defined
think-
different. I just want to make sure I'm looking at the same thing you're looking at. Because page 5, number 7 is ground story height for footnote 7. But on page 8, 7 is upper story height.
Yeah, so page 12, I'm looking at page 12.
Okay.
And it says 7 for the first story, which is keyed to something that says upper story height.
Got it.
So that's just a small item.
So page 11 and 12. Page 11, number 7 is upper story.
Okay, 11 and 12.
Then so 7,
Yeah.
including on the ground floor.
Oh,
But
okay,
it's
so this
defined
should
as,
be
up-
8.
right, so there should be a different number, and
Yeah.
those should all be.
Yeah, 'cause it's-
Because there's no ground
It's
floor.
15. That clear, Scott?
I believe it's because we do not have a ground story requirement in the R7. Am I wrong?
You can
That's
just
correct.
change it to read story height.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
getting at.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be revised as story height.
That can be updated, and I also do want to point back to Article 1. It does discuss headings and illustrations that they're provided for reference, and if there's a discrepancy between it, the text governs.
Good. Anything else on section 4, Article 4 rather? Article 5, special purpose zoning.
I had a scenario on this, a question on
Please.
this for Scott. The goal long-term is going to be anything publicly owned going into this zoning district, right? Like government-owned, park district, forest, library, municipal, anything like that?
So, yes, right now, the plans for any rezonings, like I've discussed, would not take place after, or during this discussion, or after a vote or final approval on the zoning ordinance. We'd come back with any rezonings, and it'd be a public hearing and public noticing requirements. Right now, we don't have any plans to forcibly rezone any other entity other than village-owned properties in the future. We are thinking right now that they have the option to go into this PI district with the normal rezoning process. Usually we'll see that when there's somewhat of a new proposal on a property and they need either the bulk standards in that zoning district can't accommodate it, we'd recommend that they rezone to the PI district for like a school or the park district needs. Now, the park district just went through a lot of special uses prior to some of the commissioners being on this commission. I believe they received a handful of special uses on properties that didn't have special uses prior for their existing parks because they were reorganizing what type of recreational activities were taking place at each park. But right now, we don't have plans to forcibly do anything with any other entity.
Okay, the only concern that I have here, and actually, council, you might be able to opine on this, my only concern is if something in the future gets zoned PI, and the only concern I have on all this is just that we're getting rid of the lot width and the minimum lot areas. If something is obtained by a governmental, one of the entities, and it's sold or disposed of, does it keep the underlying PI, or would it revert to like R3 automatically?
It would not revert if there's a structure on the property, though. I'm sorry. Use of the property probably couldn't continue as a governmental use.
Right.
If it's owned by a private property owner.
Right.
So, and they'd be limited to government uses, so they'd probably want to rezone it in
Got it.
order to use the property.
So they'd be, so we don't have to worry that someone's gonna get something in a asset sale, it gets through, and then they can build a house with no setbacks, basically, or no lot width or area limits.
That's not an allowable use in that district.
I just wanna make sure there's no scenario where that came in, so, okay.
I will also add, we do have other zoning districts that don't have lot width and lot area requirements. I believe it's the B2 and C1 don't have that requirement.
Got it.
That's off the top of my head.
Article 6, principal uses.
Yeah. I've got a comment on the, you're talking about the, yeah, Article 6 uses. Two issues came to mind in looking at the table of uses. Under the category vehicle sales and service, which I think these are, which is under the commercial category, and the subcategory is vehicles sales and service. There's the use listed of fueling station, which is a gas station, and that is a special use in the B1A, B1,
B1 and
the
B2.
B1, B2, and C1 district, but it's listed as a permitted use in the M district. And gas stations are typically categorized as special uses in all districts, unless you have a really isolated manufacturing district without nearby residential, et cetera. In the case of Westmont, its manufacturing districts are generally located pretty adjacent to residential or near residential. Gas stations can result in a lot of traffic, noise, 24/7 lighting, fumes, et cetera. They can be controversial, and I would suggest that these be regulated as special uses in the M district rather than permitted.
This would include, these would be fueling stations that are open to the public for commercial use, not a private fueling station within a company or a fire. I'm thinking of like the fire station has.
I'll get to that next.
Okay.
So I don't know is there any opposition to that, making that change?
That makes sense.
And then related to that is minor, under that same category of vehicle sales and service, minor repair and maintenance is also, so that would be vehicle repairs and maintenance, is also listed as a permitted use in the M1 and the M district, which, again, the M district is a very limited area along Quincy Street, right adjacent from residential. You may want to consider that, at least in the M1, that should be a special use rather than a permitted use. The other thing is, to your point, fueling centers are those that are open to the public
Okay.
to sell gas. But the definition of fueling centers says that if you're a fueling center for fleet vehicles, presumably that means for your own fleet vehicles, your own company's fleet vehicles, it falls under the category of commercial vehicle repair and maintenance. So that would mean that in the M1 and the M district, there could be a fleet vehicle fueling center established as a permitted use. So I just throw that out there that you may want to consider. Oftentimes automobile repair facilities are categorized as a special use, and that's because they can have leave their bays open, they're making a lot of noise as they're, performing repairs. If you have residential across the street, depending on how the bays are faced, it can cause adverse impacts. You could have a lot of vehicles stored outside, and the village would have no means of regulating that. You could also have a fleet vehicle fueling center without any ability to regulate that. So, a couple use categories that I would just throwing out as suggestion, regulate as special uses rather than permitted.
Discussion, gentlemen?
I would agree with both of those changes.
I agree with it. The only question kind of building on it, I'm reading the definition on page 416. We define it as minor repair and maintenance. What would be major repair? I guess what makes it minor versus major? Because I can't find I'm imagining like if a vehicle's totaled, it'd be a tow yard or a scrap yard, but I'm trying to think like if it's, body frame adjustment, would that technically fall under, if they're fixing a mechanical, would they be allowed to do it?
So it would likely fall under one of our manufacturing and industry uses categories. I don't recall which one off the top of my head without going through specifics. as I'm sure everybody's going through them right now. While I'm up here, though, I did put on the zoning map, just to reference what
Yeah.
the village attorney was referencing related to the manufacturing district. So we have this area that's the village's manufacturing district around Ty Warner Park. And then we have a small area in the M1 district, if it lets me go. Maybe.
I think to your question, it would be body and paint shop, because it contains motor vehicle body
It's
work
trying.
and repairs.
Okay, we have, it's not showing it, but we have in the manufacturing, M1 district, which is along the tracks here, and we have one other property down south that's M1. And then we have a small area on the south end of town that is also manufacturing. A lot of that manufacturing was annexed in from the county
Van
years
Industrial.
ago.
Is that 61st Street, Scott?
Yes. Between 61st and 63rd, I believe. As you can tell, our manufacturing districts are very different than other surrounding communities. We don't have a major highway or interstate coming through, where you'd see industrial zones. So if you go south on Cass down to Darien area, they have larger manufacturing areas as they approach the interstate. We don't have that here. We have these smaller pocket manufacturing areas, and that's just based on how the community's developed. So we are generally cognizant of what manufacturing uses we allow, because I think all of the manufacturing zone properties abut residential.
Okay, so I think the board seems to be in agreement that both for fueling station in M1, they're in manufacturing district, and vehicle repair and maintenance in both M1 and M districts. I would not be averse to recommending special use permit.
So we would, and really quick, I'm gonna do a straw poll, just so we can annotate it. So for the fueling station in the M district, we would change it from permitted to special. Everybody's comfortable with that? Raise your hand if you're comfortable with that.
John, you were specific with M1, and you didn't mention M on the,
For the fueling station, you did.
For the fueling station, I did.
Yes, just the fueling
just the filling station.
We're all good
We're
with
in
that.
agreement.
And then for the minor repair and maintenance, for the M1, we'd look at changing that to a special use, and then keeping in the M district a permitted use.
Well, I threw out again, because some of the manufacturing zone properties are adjacent or near residential properties, you may want to consider, even in that district, classifying this use as a special use. I leave that up to the commission to consider.
Tom, did you have a comment?
And I'm just raising my hand in support.
I am gonna check to see what we currently have it for in the M district, related specifically to minor repair and maintenance.
Adam did clarify. The only concern that I would have is because of the way it's defined in minor repair and maintenance, it would also include anyone that, I guess, is it defined separately as a car wash? Because it talks about if it's washed, cleaned, or otherwise protecting the exterior, which includes oil change businesses too. So I'm just trying to figure out, no, I actually don't have that answer, but is car wash separate, or does it fall under that definition? Because if it does, then everyone would have to come forward on a special use if they want to do a car wash.
Car washes are listed in, when we describe what minor repairs and maintenance are, it lists car washes as an example.
No, I follow. But if we were to change it for that item to special use, then a car wash would have to come in front for an SUP. I just want to make sure that's known, because, and my concern was making sure that, like, someone doing major body work, that makes a lot of noise, odor, sound, vibration, all the rest of it. That I don't have a problem in terms of special use. The minor one is, it looks like that's why we allowed it not to have to go through special use. So I guess as long as the definition, as long as what Adam had indicated was that major repairs falls under sorry,
It's
body and paint shop, then I'm okay with it, given how we're defining minor repair. It's a slight suggestion. We could also throw major repair, comma, body and paint
Where-
shop, just because there's a minor.
Can I ask, where, I looked in the definitions, I didn't find it.
Go to page 6. Go to page 616.
For body and paint shop.
For minor repair.
Yeah, go, it's in R2 and then look at A through D.
I would limit that on car washes, the fans,
Car washes make a
tremendous
lot
amount of
of,
noise and
they can
sound.
cause adverse impacts as well, similar to an oil changing place. And I would think just the volume of traffic, the noise of the fans, sometimes they're automatic, sometimes there's not, there's large staff. So I'm in support of changing all three of those Ps to Ss.
Can I get a straw poll for that?
Before that, can I just point out, I think you mentioned wanting to look at what the current M district.
Yes, I just went through, I did not find a specific call out for the use. The only call out I found was for the fuel, which was a special use right now.
And that's fuel sales, which
Yeah, it's-
makes it seem like bulk fuel sales rather than a fueling center.
I would defer to my attorney.
And truck parking, storage, washing, and enclosed truck repair has an X by it, so that's not even permitted currently.
I will
unless
say
it's a mistake.
it is permitted based on the ordinance that was adopted. We had to review it, so we went back and it was approved as permitted.
Oh, so that was a mistake in the,
Correct.
They put X's in that table, and so the X's got transferred.
It should have said P.
And which one is that?
That's for the truck repair and washing. And it's all enclosed.
right. The problem is they seem to always have bay doors to get the vehicles in and out, and in the summer months, they leave the bay doors open to get air, et cetera. And, you know, there's a lot of power tools used, so. One alternative is to allow for vehicle repairs in the M district as a permitted use, but change the definition of what a fueling center is to include fleet vehicle fueling center. That makes sense. And then require that as a special use.
So you'd be splitting it, pulling one of the uses out.
Right.
I'm in the public and maybe not allowed to speak. I can give you a suggestion. If not, that's okay.
Well, you would have to be at the podium, and you would have to be at the podium to speak, and we've closed that, so.
Council, real quick. Is it currently, because I'm missing it, because it looks like we recategorized, so we don't see it. What is currently allowed related to the truck parking? You had made a comment about truck park wash.
Yeah, so it was truck parking, storage, washing, and enclosed.
And that's permitted by right presently?
It has an X, and my understanding is based on the ordinance that was adopted at that time. It was supposed to be permitted. But we have to track it all the way back. I can't say for definitively, but that's my understanding.
But right now, and that's for the M district?
M district only.
Okay, so right now, if someone in the M district came in for that, it's permitted by right?
Yes.
And we're proposing, how did that get recategorized into now? Like under this new code, what was that fall into?
It would likely be under the industrial category.
Okay.
And high impact.
Got it.
Industrial,
Okay.
which would be a special use. That's because we feel that the zoning district type compared to, like I stated, the other manufacturing districts in the area that allow for, or near interstates, that have, you know, the truck stops and everything and have a whole district dedicated to it. We don't have that here, and our manufacturing districts are surrounded by that residential.
So I think the easy change is to make both those categories special uses in the M1 and the M district. An alternative would be to, because fleet vehicle fuel sales don't fall under the definition of fueling station, maybe include that in the definition of fueling station, require it as a special use in all districts, and then allow minor repairs and maintenance as a permitted use, at least in the M district, because that would then exclude fuel sales.
Did everybody understand that? I'm gonna do a straw poll now. Okay. Can I do a straw poll for if everybody's okay with those changes that I will mark up? We can also discuss further.
So we're expanding the definition of fueling station.
Correct.
And
To
we're
include,
saying both M1 and M district.
which would
as special
include
use.
the fleet vehicles, and when we say fleet vehicles in this instance, that's not the business vehicles that we talked about that changed. The fleet vehicles would be anything commercial vehicle wise up to like a semi-trailer. Okay. Everybody okay with that? Did you have a question, Commissioner Donahue?
I think I'm good. Johnny, you were saying to make both M and M1 special use. And then the second part, I just want to make sure I'm clear. The second part was also a suggestion, or was it one or the other?
It was one or the other.
So I'm raising my hand to the former, where we're making both special use, correct? Yeah.
The fuel centers and the repairs would both those use categories would be special uses in both districts.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, I'm for that. I think that with the unique situation of having the residential, like I'm thinking about down 61st Street, torque wrenches and bay doors going off at 6:30 in the morning, 100 feet away from those homes certainly makes sense, so, yeah.
And then the change to the definition to include fleet vehicles.
Got it, yep.
It sounds like we're all in agreement.
Yeah. We,
Unrelated.
this time.
Yeah.
Yep, go.
I guess next is, and my only other comment has to do with data centers, which are special uses in the OR and the M1 district, but a permitted use in the M district. And I really don't know a lot about data centers, but I was at a village board meeting last night and it came up because one or more have been proposed and possibly approved in Yorkville. They've been approved throughout the country. They're growing in popularity, but they can have a tremendous impact. I just pulled up here, data centers are responsible for approximately 2% of global electricity demand, which is expected to rise sharply due to the increased use of AI, et cetera. And they can impact local communities and economies through energy consumption, carbon emissions, water usage, and noise pollution. One of the discussions last night had to do with how much water they use to cool the facilities, the equipment in there. In this one, I forget what state it was, but they drew on well water and essentially sapped the entire aquifer. So I don't know that the village has enough space where a data center could conceivably go in. But I would recommend changing that to a special use.
I'd add on to it that the biggest demand or issue with building those is getting the electric use. And my understanding is ComEd requires like an upfront $1 million before they even do the study. I mean, I have two villages that I know that they can't even figure it out unless they have like a signed lease in hand before they even commit to it. And there was an article in Cranes that talked about this because everyone wants to build it, so ComEd's resources are getting zapped. So my thought is, and I would echo with councilors, that if they have to go through that timeline at ComEd's timeline, they should easily be able to apply for an SUP. And they have to get that answer before they even worry about coming to us.
I've worked on several data centers in the past year, actually, and villages care a lot about the noise and the generators, because these things have to be always on, and power can't go out for more than a millisecond or so. So they have giant generators that could produce tons of noise and exhaust fumes should something happen. And so usually they're screened by fairly significant structural fences from from the adjacent lot lines. And often they have their own electrical substation connected to them. So I don't think that we have a lot right now that would really support a feasible data center, but I also concur that they're not going to be worried about our requirements should they choose to build one. They have a lot more upfront work to do than what we would be proposing they add to their list. So because of the exhaust fumes and the noise, I would agree with making it a special use.
Or P for prohibited use.
Yeah, well,
That's a joke. I think we would all be in agreement here that as a minimum, special use for data centers.
Raise your
Thank you,
hand if
Joe.
yes. Okay.
That's all I had.
Okay. Article 7, accessory and temporary uses. I think we did a lot of discussion in the previous meeting on the parking versus storage issue. I think we resolved all that to everyone's satisfaction. Nothing? Article 8, wireless telecommunication facilities.
Sorry, can I go back? I had one on
Yep, let's go back
7.21.
to 7.
I'm trying to flip as quick as I can. The 7.21, only question, I know we talked about, this is I think the RVs, the boats, the trailers, the outdoor storage. Do we have anything in here that if it's on the trailer, that trailer is basically operable? Or at least, my only concern is like if you have a rusted out trailer where the tires are flat, it's not going anywhere, it isn't movable, at what point do we classify that as similar to how we?
Inoperable.
Yeah, right.
Vehicle of some type.
So I think that would probably be either through the nuisance provisions, which I know currently regulate inoperable motor vehicles and may apply to trailers. And I know that I've had recent discussions with the building commissioner about some possible amendments to that nuisance section. So I think including trailers in there, if it's not already included, makes sense. There may also be some like property maintenance type provisions in the existing residential maintenance code that might address.
So it's not on zoning.
Correct.
I do believe there is a zoning aspect in here under F2 licensing and conditions that says basically that it cannot take its wheels off, it can't be affixed to the ground or otherwise be stored in a manner that prevents ready removal. So I think that in addition to the other amendments Attorney Semenek mentioned, will address that.
You'd say it wouldn't be ready removed.
Right.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, if it had a flat tire.
You see what that was the only concern, is if that's the nuisance.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
Anything else on Article 7? Article 8, wireless telecommunication facilities. I had nothing. Okay, Article 9, parking.
I'll just have a comment that I still think on page 9-3, under senior high schools, that 1 car per 7 students is not enough.
Under what? Oh, high school, yeah, schools.
High school, I said that the first time, so there's probably a good reason why it's kept that way, but I wanted to air my opinion again on that one.
I feel like most schools have a shortage of parking for students, maybe to encourage students to get to school by other means than driving their own car, but
They might also, do schools around here impose fees, additional fees to get a parking spot at a school?
Yes, they do charge students. At least I know at the high school I went to,
Yeah.
did charge for parking.
Well, you figure freshmen, so I'm trying to figure out the 1 and 7. Freshman and sophomore can't drive.
Yeah, it's the
Junior,
other
senior,
half.
and then maybe you carpool is a thought, but I mean, this would make sense if it's seniors only could drive. So I guess if our high schools only allow seniors to drive their own car, and then you assume everyone carpools with at least one person, then the 1 and 7 would make sense. But that's what it would take.
Yeah.
Seniors only driving, and always need to have 2 passengers or 2 people in the car.
Yeah.
And does the 1 and 7 include freshman and sophomore too? Or like the whole
Right.
school size, or is it just limited to, is the 1 and 7 for junior and senior? I'd assume it's the whole school.
Correct.
No.
It would be for the whole school.
I have one more comment about, we added grooming service. It just says 2.5 square feet. It doesn't say per 1,000. So I think that just needs fixed.
Oh, it's not per pet?
No.
I wonder if school parking, if it's going to become an issue in upcoming years with electric scooters and electric trikes and electric bikes
It's gonna
and
be a 1,000
these
electric
things that we're seeing
scooters. Yeah.
all the time now. Guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Do we want to make any changes to what Commissioner Sharp said?
The 1
for
per 7.
high schools? Do you want to reiterate that since we had a whole other discussion?
It's not, so I'm thinking about that it's half the student body has driver's licenses,
Correct, yeah, only Westmont High School.
and yet also you have to pay for parking, and a lot of students are now using these electric bikes or electric scooters, which would cut down on cars, so I think two per 7 students would be believable to me. How do you guys feel about that?
I wonder if the school shouldn't set these regulations as opposed to the village.
Yeah, of course, this is a minimum, so if Westmont High School wants to redo their parking lot and they want to do more because more of their students want to drive, they're able to. This is just saying at a minimum, they need to provide 1 per 7 students.
Well, and it's the only high school too. So the only people that would ever be in front of us, at least for the moment, would be Westmont High requesting a variance. So I guess in this instance, it'd be probably appropriate to take it with only Westmont High in mind unless we anticipate another high school
The
coming
only
in.
other, you have private high schools that could always come in.
Right.
But yeah, generally, we only have Westmont High School within the municipality limits.
And Adam or Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, schools in the PI are special use. So there's the ability to scrutinize traffic and congestion and parking through the special use as well. Am I quoting that right?
Yes, that's correct. Schools are still a special use in the PI district.
We made that change.
So there's still the ability to scrutinize
A new school comes
if a
in.
new school comes in. So
What does it say? The other thing that we compared the first round of this was colleges or universities had the same 1 per 7. Now it says see section 9.03G. And I just haven't found that section yet. G.
So 9.03G is the establishment of other parking ratios where they'd have to provide parking data to the zoning administrator to determine it through like a parking data or a study that would include estimates. So that way it's tailored to the actual college itself.
If you would prefer, we could change the high school to that as well, or add it as another option for them.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that the high school itself knows best what it needs, so that seems to be what 9.03G is getting at.
Well, and also, it's the number of spaces required, not the number of spaces that are, there currently. So the school could, I mean, it could say 1 and 7, but they might, maybe in reality, it's more 3 and 7 might have a parking permit because there's available spaces that they have there, depending on the number of students in the junior and senior class that actually drive. Does that make sense? Like, even though it says 1 and 7, that's the minimum requirement for the number of spaces required, they might have more of a ratio in reality of 2 to 7 or 3 to 7 because of the available spots in the lot.
I
And the
just
number
want
of
to make
kids
sure
that
we're
can
planning
drive.
for the future. I know there's a lot of people in Westmont that'd like to see that building torn down and rebuilt. So, just forecasting what it should say.
And they would still have the option for a variance too, if they feel that 1 per 7 is too high and they actually would need lower. So there are still other options in this case.
I will, just 'cause
Okay.
I have the current code in front of me. So right now, for high, public, or private schools, it's 1 parking space per each 7 students based on the maximum number of students. And 1 parking space for each faculty member and each other full-time employee, which is very hard to distinguish if they went through a planning and zoning case, what that number would be for employees and staff and whatnot.
What's the definition of maximum number of students?
It's based on design capacity of the building. If I can speak on behalf of staff, I think leaving the 1 per 7 in and then adding the other avenue for them in, what is it, section 9.03G as an option can accommodate them.
Okay.
So can I ask process, so if they couldn't meet the 1 per 7 and they said, we have all this data and documents that looks very professional, then the zoning administrator can basically state, this is adequate, I don't have to make you do a variance.
Yes.
Is that fair to say? Okay, so I wanted to say that out loud so everybody here could see that.
Okay. I don't need to belabor it.
All right. Is everybody okay with that being changed? So it would read 1 per 7 students or in accordance with section 9.03G.
Good.
I think that was a straw poll he was doing. Is everybody good with that? I'm seeing a lot of yeses. Okay.
Anything else on Article 9? Article 10, tree preservation and landscaping. Article 11, signs.
I got something on that I wrote down for 11, page 2. Just let me find it there. At least I thought I did. Never mind. Never mind. I'll come back to it if I find it.
Okay, signs. Going once, going twice. Article 12, general development regulations. Scott, you got a slide? There we go.
I got some questions. I guess I'd like to hear from staff in response to the public comment tonight about excluding detached residential properties from this article. Is that generally because we feel it's too difficult to regulate or to enforce? Is that?
Correct. Well, I had a big hand in this, and if you remember at the last meeting, I was a little bit worried about the enforcement pieces of this.
Okay.
So we did exclude the single family. When we get to, Scott, are we going to discuss the non-zoning changes in this forum or no?
No.
Okay, so there's a whole host of other code changes that if this gets implemented, need a change in some other sections. So one of our recommendations is to add a nuisance lighting in the nuisance section. So I can't remember who it was, maybe it was Commissioner Simpson that was worried about having the nuisance lighting separately, and we are adding that provision. So someone can't deliberately use lighting as a weapon against their neighbor or anything like that. What we tried to focus on was where this became applicable. And that's why you see the applicability section in the trigger. So basically, all new projects, all new commercial projects have to abide by this. And then we wanted to make sure that if someone was coming in for a permit, so a commercial property was coming in for a permit, they might be replacing the heads on their poles, but they're not moving poles, and they're not replacing poles, and they're not replacing the pole bases. It would be unrealistic to say, well, that pole is too close to the street, and take their nominal project cost and quadruple it by saying you need to remove all your poles, redo your parking lots, and fix that. So that satisfied me from a standpoint of we can still make them do the heads correctly, down-shielded, right light temperature, and the other basic requirements. So we're incrementally getting them to a better place. So if and when they have to replace the pole bases, then we're going to make them do everything, versus if they're just coming in to do an electric permit. But we did feel that the encroachment of this into the single-family zones would create a bit more of a conundrum with code enforcement. Because it is much harder to figure out the nonconformities of, well, I've always had that light there. And code enforcement can typically try to be weaponized between two homeowners. And we felt that that might get a little bit more intensive than we could mitigate. So,
But you said you are adding a nuisance lighting.
yes, there would be a nuisance lighting section that is being added. So we're taking steps. Maybe that would be a next step as we move into the residential stuff. So we were comfortable with this at this point.
Okay.
I will just also mention, related to the tire zoning ordinance, just like our old zoning ordinance, we can do amendments if something's not working the way we think it should, or it could be better. We do plan on having, maintenance periods after this is adopted, so you'll likely see a maintenance period where we come back with text amendments once we actually institute this language. If there was a gap in some, or a loophole in some way that we didn't find during the public hearing, we can always come back.
My only other comment for this it's a question on lighting types and efficiencies, where it's on page 2, where we call out 3,000 degree color temperature. And I'm thinking, I've worked a lot of car dealerships as well in my past, and those guys want 4,000 K lights because that's the best to show merchandise with. So up on Ogden Avenue, when they replace a light bulb, do they now need to conform to this 3,000? Or?
No. So basically, that's where the applicability triggers are, is where we have the ability there, is if they're coming in for a new site plan approval, or if they're coming in for an amended site plan and they're messing with lighting, then we would enact those. So it wouldn't stop them from replacing the light bulbs in their existing fixtures now. If they came in for an electric permit to replace the entire fixture, the entire head, then they would have to comply.
Okay.
And I believe the 3,000 was one of the recommendations through Dark Sky.
Yeah, I
And
can't
I'll be
remember.
corrected, just in case I'm wrong.
I can't remember the exact number, but it was based off, I think it's Homer Glen in their dark sky code compliant language.
So,
It's a nice feeling. In my opinion, it's a nice color temperature. I don't know if our street lights are currently at that, but that's neither here nor there. That's all I had. I just was interested to see if changing light bulbs would trigger anything at all. I don't have anything else, Chair.
Anything else on Article 12? Let's go to Article 13, nonconformities. Being no discussion, Article 14, review and approval procedures. Article 15, administration and enforcement. Article 16, measurements.
I have something on
Okay.
16 at the very, I think it's the last page, 11. 11B, this is a paragraph talking about exemptions for penthouses or roof structures and associated things above the building that can be greater in height than the listed in the table. The last sentence, such building, I can't even say this, appurtenances must be located or screened by parapet walls or similar screening to conceal their view when viewed from the adjoining street from an eye level height of 5 feet. I think we should change that because I'm thinking about a section of a building. Let's say it's a 4-story building and you've got a 10-foot elevator overhead that's set back 10 foot from that building parapet line. You're not going to be able to see any of that from the adjoining street, right? But from 2 streets away, you'll see the whole thing.
Or from an adjacent building that
Yeah.
happens to be 3 or 4 stories looking out
Right,
the window.
so I think it should read that these things that we're allowing above the roof line should be simply fully concealed, their full height. The full height of these objects should be concealed by a parapet or screening device.
And I'm basing this off of pre-application meetings I've had with developers looking to go to this height with the penthouses. My understanding is for a lot of the fire equipment for parapet walls and for fire to get up there, the higher parapet wall can become an issue for them based on the vehicles we have.
I don't think most of these will have parapet walls covering them. Most mechanical penthouses and elevator overruns are in the middle of the building, and so they'll have their own screen around.
Correct, yeah.
So you can have a low parapet that's easy to climb over, but still have a screen with a doorway even into that area. That way it's clad in something and you don't just see an air handling unit or a chiller sitting on a rooftop from across the street. You guys can think about it. You understand my point, especially that the view angle from the adjoining street to a multi-story building roof is very acute, and you're not going to be able to see much beyond the parapet line from that very acute angle. But as you move further away from the building, it changes dramatically.
So can I ask questions? And you have some good answers because you work in the industry. Are you trying to say that if you just say it requires screening, and you can't see it but from a block away, you're saying even if I can see it from a block away, it should be screened?
Well, whenever I've dealt with screening requirements, I, just doing a best practice, take my screening up to the height of the thing I'm trying to cover, so that it is indefinitely screened. And that's the way I have interpreted most jurisdictions' intent, is that they want it fully screened from view. So I've never tried to play some game of how, can I save 18 inches of cheap metal siding just to save a couple pennies, at the cost of a view angle. Like these things, usually you can clad these things for cheap. It's just metal corrugated siding, or it's whatever you are using already on the building. It's not usually expensive to add this, and the height usually is not an expensive thing to consider. If you already have to mount posts or something to the roof and have that structure there. So adding a couple feet, it's not a big deal structurally, just to get it fully concealed.
What would be the purpose of not, other than financial, of not concealing
At all.
at all of it?
Let me ask you, because it mentions chimneys, so I'm thinking in my house, the chimney, what's the mandate that a chimney goes above the roof line? Because some of those on, like, in the Oakwood area, it's at least 10 feet, maybe 15. So my question would be, would that have to now be screened? Because the word chimney's there. Am I reading this right?
I think chimneys are specified in a separate accessory structure section. That could be wrong.
Well, and we're talking about
This-
specialized buildings in the downtown district. We're not talking about single-family homes.
So are we
It
talking
is
like
weird
the
that
roof
chimneys is mentioned there.
I
Right,
believe,
that's
I
what-
might be wrong.
So what
I don't think it's, I don't,
just-
real
maybe
quick, I don't think it differs the district. I
Okay,
think this
you know what,
applies to everything.
I thought we were in a
Joe.
different section.
Yeah, I think the exemptions applies to everything. And so that's the only reason why I'm not discounting what Commissioner Sharp's saying. I'm just saying, I think the path he's going down, then we would probably have to remove chimneys or specify to a business, maybe because I think that's your concern, is the
I think we
business
should remove
district.
chimneys because they don't want to be built taller than they need to be.
Well, I'd imagine too, this is out of my element, I'd imagine there's a building regulation of
Yes,
how high a chimney has to
there
go,
is.
so.
What I was going to say is this code, other than or similar screening, is directly derived from our current regulations. So this is pulled from the current code. We did not look at this specific section because we've never had issues with it. We usually tell developers when we meet with them that it should be fully screened, and they've never raised it as a concern. But with that being said, we can always codify that based on Sharp's questions.
I would vote to codify it.
I have no issue with it if we limit it. Really, my thought is do it to the downtown area, because that's the only thing that's drastically changing in this plan, is because we're allowing by right a lot higher, or a greater maximum height. And that's exactly what you're talking about, so that you might not be able to see it from here, but 2 blocks over there are going to see it.
Yeah.
It's a reasonable.
Yeah, those are these multi-use buildings are what I'm thinking of that have these things on their roofs. So, I mean, I would vote to just say fully concealed or fully screened.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm thinking of, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking of Quincy Station right here. They've got the penthouse, they've got the patio outside. Like, why would they want that? Like, if I had the penthouse or, the top floor, or it's a shared space, like, why would they want that concealed? I'm thinking more of the owners of the property want the view.
I had the same question when I first came on regarding penthouses. Apparently penthouses also include where the elevator structure comes in, because the elevator has to go above the building. So they have a box up there. That's for the elevator. That is what this is referring to for penthouses.
So there's
They call it
two-
the
there's-
doghouse, right?
Yeah, it's just terminology, so it's not an occupiable space up there, it's just mechanical.
So it's just the elevator.
It's that, yeah, it would be like the mechanical equipment.
Wouldn't be where you're hosting guests, like on the balcony, because that's what you're thinking of. You're looking, you want to look out, so why would you screen it? You're talking, this applies to like the doghouse area, or
Right.
that area that's not occupied, that goes above the line for
Yeah,
you to
where
get to the roof.
mechanical equipment
There's got to be a
is
ceiling
stored.
higher than the roof.
Got it. I was thrown off by chimneys, but
No,
I
I
think
get it. Yeah.
we've got it now.
So in the exemption, it states penthouses or roof structures for the housing of elevators, stairways, tanks, and ventilating fans. That's the distinction.
But you know what, Scott, that's actually a good example, because that's what we're talking about encouraging, right? The one at Quincy. So what's the highest height that we see over there?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I don't know from the penthouse
Okay.
that they have. I could probably tell you that it meets this intent of how it's written right now.
Well, I'm going to clarify that, only because when you're on the second floor here, you can see a lot more, because the parapet wall screens a certain amount. It does not go as high as everything that's up on that roof, because the further you get away, the less and less of the stuff on top you'll see.
Sure.
So I've worked for communities that say stuff that is within a certain proximity, the parapet wall needs to be screened. You know, so anything within 10 feet of the parapet wall should be screened, because then generally when you're walking around, you won't see it because it's pushed back. It's not nearly as close to the parapet wall. I worked for a community, so you talked about chimneys. Most brick chimneys are beautiful. You don't want to hide them, actually. But that kind of also covers a ugly vent pipe that someone has on, you know, some other type of heating stove or whatever. And most people don't want to see that. My concerns, if we just universally say it, is so if I have a building that is at Market Center, 6030 Cass, and we remove the visibility from the street at 5 feet. So on buildings like that, typically, they build the parapet wall on 3 sides to the front street, and usually either to save money or for ease of getting up there on the back side, they really reduce what they have to do. And what we don't do here is 360-degree architecture. So I can see stuff on LA Fitness, you know, when I'm driving along 61st. If you make it just, no, you have to screen everything, then they have to consider how they're wrapping the entire side of the building, you know, all 4 sides of the building. That is a wonderful design feature, but it can get costly when that happens. And then it's also a little hard for staff when someone goes to replace their RTUs, replace their rooftop units with new ones that are bigger, and they need to move them into a different location. And then staff has to say, well, those need to be screened fully. And that's usually, I'm speaking from experience, I used to work in Schaumburg, and Schaumburg required this. Well, we don't care how your roof was built. We don't care if you can add another screen up there because of the wind loads it's going to have. We don't want to see it. And that, on the business side of things, can be kind of detrimental to trying to get investment. So whether we say it's important in the downtown, or we write it in such a way, and I'll tell you, I don't love the amount of things in this zoning ordinance that puts the onus on the zoning administrator, which in this case is me. But we could write it to say that screening is required, remove the 5-foot height with some provision that says, or alternatives as, you know, authorized by the zoning administrator. And it's
So we
not
just say it
cringe
must
on-
be
it's-
screened.
Yeah, it's how do you write in here using best judgment based on the situation, you know?
Yeah. To me, if you write, it must be screened, most people would interpret that as fully screened, but it would still, if you add the semicolon, you know, as per the judgment of the zoning administrator, then that also gives you flexibility.
I tend to agree. I think just saying fully screened is sufficient. Let someone come in with their plans. I think you determine whether it's fully screened based on where it's located on the roof of the building, how far back it's set, and what's surrounding it. And, you know, it may vary a little bit from building to building, but the zoning ordinance already vests discretion in the zoning administrator to administer things like that.
You just changed my mind.
Okay.
Better not have better been in my favor.
Can we, oh, go ahead.
So John, are you saying that we don't have to write or to the discretion of the zoning administrator, because you said it already is written in there?
Yes.
Okay, well then, I worry about the scenario of an existing building in the downtown wants to replace all their RTUs. It's not screened for the backside now. How do we apply? Well, technically, that should be screened now. I don't know, and usually the way it goes is, I'm an HVAC company, I'm just here to replace their units. And then suddenly you turn it into a building project because it needs to be screened. And then you look at all the other buildings' backsides and you're like, none of those are screened. And I think the zoning administrator needs to make an educated best scenario when working with it versus saying, sorry, at this point forward, you need to screen it. So.
I agree. I think you can have some wiggle room depending on the situation as to what fully screened means.
If you're confident that it's already written in the zoning administrator power and authorities, and that works for me.
Yeah.
Straw poll, fully enclosed. Sorry, fully screened, my bad. Okay. Do we want fully screened or fully concealed? That was my only question.
Screen, because it gives you leeway.
Okay, gentlemen, anything else on measurements? Go to Article 17, definitions.
Just a question, I know we're changing definitions to commercial vehicles, so I'm trying to find the opposites as they come in. What would be a vehicle designed to transport less than 16 people? Are we classifying that just as a motor vehicle then? And it would not be a commercial vehicle? So I guess if it's a shorter, because this one excludes school buses, so I guess a short school bus wouldn't even count under there, right?
Under commercial vehicle?
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be, it's a good question.
So how do we define a school bus? Because it says it's excluding school buses under commercial vehicle. So I guess there's a couple, right? If there's any vehicle, sorry, I'm on page 17-18.
Yeah,
That
it's
would be
a
helpful.
vehicle, comma, commercial. Right?
Yeah, so usually it's commercial vehicle, right? So the comma just differentiates. So it's commercial vehicle. Oh, I'm sorry, you're explaining where, yeah, bottom left of the page. So if there's a vehicle greater than D plates, it's a commercial vehicle. If it's a more than 16 person, it's greater than it. So if it's 15 or less, and if it is a school bus, does that mean then we define it as motor vehicle and not commercial vehicle? Because I don't see where it would be a different definition, so I just want to make sure that covers what we...
I based on the definitions provided, I would agree with that. Do you disagree or agree?
I agree with what he said.
Do we have issue with that?
that school buses aren't defined as so Chapter 78 of the Code of Ordinances, which regulates vehicles and traffic and stuff, has a definition for commercial vehicles that we've now copied and put in the zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
And we really regulate commercial vehicles when it comes to off-street parking, so that let's say a contractor or someone doesn't use off-street parking for their bucket trucks and all their other commercial vehicles. And so your question is, if we're excluding school buses from commercial vehicles and they're not a business vehicle like a typical small fleet vehicle, do we have no regulations for them zoning-wise?
Right. Because the way I infer it then is if it's 15 or less, if it's like a passenger van or a Sprinter van, I guess, then it's not a school bus. It's not a commercial vehicle, so it would fall under the business vehicle, but it would have to be regularly used by a business or organization for it. So that's kind of where I see like there might be a little leeway in a couple different examples. If we're okay with it, that's fine. I don't know whether we just add a couple terms in here or.
Well, as an example, Westmont Yard on 63rd Street has mini school buses that it regularly uses kind of as fleet vehicles to pick kids up and bring them to their daycare operations on site. So those vehicles, up to 2 or more, if approved by a special use permit, would be allowed in off-street parking spaces. Commercial vehicles would not, but school buses, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on the fact
No, I think that's correct, and I remember it was daycare centers and the senior centers we were looking at.
And they can have more than 2? I'm sorry, I'm trying
No,
not to
I
jump.
think they would still be under the stipulation. If they wanted more, they'd have to come in for that special use approval.
Gotcha.
But those are the 2 I can think of that would be in that category for
Yeah, 'cause
business vehicles.
I'm going to Westmont Yards, I'm thinking of Creme, and I know we just gave the other go-ahead at the other
Primrose.
preschool too, but I think Creme has 3 buses, so would that be permitted? Or going forward, they would need, that's where I'm just trying to understand.
I believe it would be considered non-conformity.
Okay,
So if they added more, they would have to come in at that point. But they could continue using the 3 if they had 3 per se. For Westmont Yard, they're covered because in their plan unit development or plan development documents, they listed that out when they came to the village for their amendments recently.
And as far as the school bus goes, just thinking about parking, it's not a business vehicle, so it couldn't park in off-street parking. And a school bus isn't used by customers, employees, etc., so they couldn't park it in an off-street parking space. So really, school buses, I think, originate from the yard where they're stored as part of their business use.
Yeah.
Drive around, pick up kids, drop them off at school, and drive back, and they don't utilize off-street parking lots. If they park on public streets, I think we may have regulations for that in other chapters.
And then for business vehicles, we specifically exempted public institutional uses from those provisions because they tend to have more business vehicles than a normal business operation. So like your safety services, we have all the police cars and whatnot.
Shuttle buses are generally fewer than 16, aren't they? They're
Yes.
smaller.
that's good, that's all I got.
Anything else for the definitions? Because I have one thing for the appendix. We missed an O on the second Ohio Buckeye.
What page? For Appendix A.
Appendix A1.
How did I not catch that?
What are we looking at today?
So this is for the Ohio Buckeye. I believe
Yes.
it's written as Ohio Buckeye.
No, it says Ohio Buckeye and then street tree. It says N. It should say no.
Oh, the second one, got it.
And now everybody's double checking the rest of it.
And it should say what?
No,
Oh,
instead of
oh,
M.
yeah, okay.
Where did you see that?
Does this mean that a contractor can, or a designer can use anything they want, and this is just recommended?
Correct. It cannot be an invasive species, I believe, is one of the only requirements. And then the recommendation list is because when we have developers come in, they usually ask for one. We don't have one. A lot of municipalities either point to one of the popular ones is the Moore and Arboretums list, or just the nursery list.
Okay.
And part of the business-friendly element of what we're trying to do with this is right now when new development comes in and proposes a landscape plan, they can pretty much propose almost anything they want. Which means we have to, because we're not landscape architects, which means we have to send it out to a third-party consultant, which means they incur fees. And so part of the revamping of the landscape was if we can give them a list of things they can choose from, then potentially staff can do all the review, make it a faster review, and make it a more cost-efficient review.
Okay. I think it's helpful for my own yard.
Which is nice.
I just have one other random minor clerical cleanup on section 3.05A4. There's a reference to fleet vehicles or fleet vehicle parking, and it should just reference business vehicle parking because we changed. Did I?
Oh, A4.
3.05A4.
It should say business vehicle.
Correct.
And then remove storage as well.
No, I don't know.
But mine says fleet vehicle storage.
That's how we describe it, as fleet vehicle storage. I'm sorry, business vehicle storage.
Storage, okay, just want to make sure. Any other comments? Mr. Chair?
Okay. This has been a long drive.
So I think it would be a motion to amend the motion to include the revisions as discussed.
I think we can do a motion to approve the amendments with the revisions discussed and approved tonight. But before we do that,
Yes.
and Mr. Chairman, I know we spoke about this, I'll jump in. If there's any specific either article or a section within an article that a commissioner wants to have pulled out and voted on separately, let's say you're opposed to the lighting regulations as written, and therefore you're going to vote no on all of these amendments, it might make sense to pull that out for a separate vote. If you're of the mindset that, okay, I'm not happy with every single thing in here, but this is a win, and you're willing to vote as written, subject to our revisions tonight, then someone can make a motion to approve this.
All right, does any commissioner have any item that they would prefer to be excluded from the general vote and be voted on separately? I know that last meeting, there was a lot of discussion on ADUs, and some people were feeling that that might be something to be dealt with separately. If we're not seeing that, that'll be included. So, under PZC 0012025, the chair would entertain a motion to approve excuse me, the entire new zoning ordinance update, including any and all revisions that have been discussed by the commission tonight.
So moved.
Second, Sharp.
That motion,
Yep,
Thomas?
second Sharp, got it.
Second, Sharp. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson, Commissioner Sharp,
Yes.
Commissioner Lynn, Commissioner Donahue,
Yes.
Commissioner Simpson votes yes. Chairperson Carmichael.
Yes.
Can you write as amended during the meeting? Yes.
Okay, Scott and Adam, Joe, thank you very much for all your hard work. And
I'd like to thank everyone that is at this dais, thank our consultant. We know that we pushed you to your limits in terms of the number of meetings and the special meetings right in the middle of summer when everyone wants to enjoy themselves. But we haven't done this in 46 years. So I think everyone here deserves a pat on the back. Special thanks to Commissioner Sharp. You know, we were left with a vacancy, the ability to jump right in where you jumped out and bring forth some very good commentary. I appreciate that. Not that anyone else didn't do anything any lesser than. And Scott alluded to this. So, you know, we went from, I'm going to exaggerate, 20 pages of zoning ordinance to 150 pages of zoning ordinance in an effort to clear things up, in an effort to make things easier for businesses, in an effort to strengthen the things that were loopholes, you know, historically. So we're doing a lot of good here, but we're all human, and this is a lot of text, and you will see regular cleanups. And as we learn to work within this code, that's when you find the little hiccups in the language and a number or in a diagram. That is just the nature of the beast. So we think that we have produced something that is much, much better than we've been working in the past. My last parting comment is we are kind of resetting, especially for variances. So whereas historically we know we were getting lots of repeat variances that I think over time we just kind of said, you know, we've set precedent. This is normal. We know the code is kind of broken. Well, we hope that the code's no longer broken. So that means that making those decisions on variances is now very impactful again because we're starting from new. So as those requests come forward, you know, always use your toolbox on how you're making your decisions. We don't have to live in the past anymore, necessarily. So that's my one inspirational piece of tonight. But staff has been tasked with a very difficult thing very early in their careers. They've done an excellent job. So I want to commend them and let everyone that's watching and by the time this gets to the board know that it's been a tremendous amount of work. So I think we're in our maybe 16th or 17th hour of public hearings. There's probably several hundred hours that staff has put into this. And that is around their normal duties, which are still extensive. So I just wanted to thank everyone that's here.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Yeah.
I'd like to take this time to, again, thank staff. I appreciate all the hard work that was done, and this is a monumental effort. Because like you said, starting all over again and fixing the problems. And it takes a lot of effort, and I appreciate all the time that was used. That's all I got.
Don't relax because now the comprehensive plan has to be rewritten. So under new business, we have none.
Can I, before we move on, sorry, I just want to mention that we are hopefully going to get this on the agenda for the village board. I believe it's August 7th. I believe that's the Thursday. For the village board meeting, we have other municipal code updates related to these items, like we discussed, that not the purview of this commission, but they would also be moved forward with amendments. So.
Good. Next item is open forum. If there's anyone from the public who would like to come forward and discuss anything at the podium that wasn't on tonight's agenda. Next item, miscellaneous. I'll just show our next meeting is second Wednesday of August 13th. And
Yes, and one other item to remind you all about the 2025 APA Illinois State Conference for the Plan Commissioner Training. We've been saying that a lot because we want you all to go. It's a very useful training. I have actually been to one for some reason, and I actually learned a lot, so I would recommend that all of you go. Again, it's Thursday, October 9th. It's going to be at the old post office. It'll be a half-day session from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., and then there will also be a networking lunch where you can meet other commissioners if you would like. There's also the opportunity to go to other sessions if you would like. If you want to go to the Planning Commissioner training session and maybe explore some other ones, please get back to our Community Development Specialist, Jamie Hoffman, so that way she can register you and get all the details worked out. You need to know by August 22nd if you are interested in attending, so reach out to Jamie. That's all I have. Thank you.
reinforce that it's, you want to go. And I've been to several, I intend to go to this one as well. Okay, we're reached that point. Unless anyone has anything else they'd like to bring up, Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Sharp.
Second, Thomas.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? This meeting.